Okay. I know you're a little bit not feeling too well, not Mary, but we wanted to ask you to give us your story about your life.
I gave it to you a long time ago.
Well, this is for everybody, for all your family and the family that's not even born yet, or may come later on. Would you like to tell everybody your full name when you were born?
Name?
When you were born.
My full name is Maria Isabel Martinez. Okay, that's my full name.
And were you named after somebody?
Huh?
Were you named after somebody?
No, in Puerto Rico they used to came in the almanaque.
I see.
They get it from there.
Oh, okay. And what was the birth date?
November?
November 1919.
1919. Double 19s. That's a
Yo creo que es 18,
lucky
pero
number.
yo creo que no es 19, yo creo que es 18, pero
And who were your parents?
my parents is Roberta. What the name you, that's all?
Yes.
And mi papá era José Dolores.
And where were you born? What town?
Puerto Rico, ¿pero a dónde fue el
Pueblo?
Era la
Calle.
montaña de Calle.
Calle?
In Calle, Puerto Rico. And what did your father and mother do for a living when you were born?
I don't know.
You don't know. You don't
My
remember?
mother passed away, she was only months old.
Okay.
And then she was raised by her aunts, Doña Andrea and Doña Marta. They took
And
turns.
They took turns in Calle in where? Montellano or in
In Montellano? Después Montellano.
Doña Andrea was in Montellano, but Doña Marta was in Calle.
In the town of Calle.
Vivía en el town,
Yeah.
en el pueblo.
Okay. And when you were born, were there any other children in the family at the time?
I had an older sister.
My two sisters, Angie and Ines,
They were both,
they're bigger than me.
they're bigger than you. How bigger? 1 year, 2 years?
Oh, Angie only be 87.
So Angie's almost 3 years, and Titi Ines was 4, something like that, as close as we could figure.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so do you remember any other, oh, well, you said that at 3 months of age your home was, I mean, your mother passed away. So you didn't have a mother and you were with your 2 aunts
And my abuelita.
and your grandmother. And where was your grandmother? Also in Calle?
Calle, with Malta all the time.
Oh, she lived with Marta, your Aunt Marta, in the village of Calle. Okay. And what did they tell you about yourself other than you escaped a fire? What were the circumstances of the fire? Do you did they tell you afterwards?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I know they told me these stories in different ways. No?
Ajá.
And
Si quieres lo puedes decir en español.
en Puerto Rico se usaban, cuando era el baby, dormía con la mamá al lado y había un mosquitero.
Okay.
¿Tú te acuerdas lo que era un mosquitero?
Sí, sí.
Y había un mosquitero. Entonces se acostó ahí y vio un zancudo. Y ella cogió una vela y se puso para quemarlo. Y creo que así cogió fuego la cama.
Ajá. Y se quemó toda la cama y luego la
Bueno,
casa.
se quemó, entonces mi papá dormía en la sala. Creo que así fue, no sé. Dormía, ¿a dónde dormía? No, porque estaba mi abuelita. Y mi abuelito también, no sé dónde estaba. Y mi papá rompió la puerta para entrar, para sacarme. Yo sé que me dicen que me llevaban al doctor en una caja de zapatos.
Ajá.
Y el doctor le dijo a mi abuelita, le dijo, esta niña no va a tener pelo nunca.
Como que se
Porque
equivocó.
todo eso se me quemó.
Ajá.
No me podían poner ni qué ropa.
Ujú.
Pues, pero tengo pelo, mira.
Y mucho. Y tanto. You want to take a break?
Ay, esta cosa me está ya molestando, porque esto ya va.
Mhm.
Pues, sí. Pues yo realmente acordarme mucho, no me acuerdo mucho, porque vivía con una tía o con la otra, un tiempo con un lado y otro en sitio. Después me mandaron a Río Piedra con una señora que fue la que madrina de qué sé yo, no madrina de cuando me bautizó. O sea, que le echan agua.
Ajá.
Me fui ahí.
¿A cuántos años tenías cuando te
Tendría-
mandaron a Río
tendría
Piedra?
unos 6 o 7 años, no sé.
6 o 7 años.
Y ahí pues a lo que yo vine fue como a bregar en la casa.
Ujú.
Y
Cuando estabas con tía Andrea
mm,
y tía Marta,
mm,
¿jugabas con los otros niños?
jugaba por la calle como los muchachos.
¿Cuántos
Porque Marta tenía
primos
3 hijos.
tenías? Primos y
Marta
primas.
tenía 3 hijos.
3 hijas.
Y
O 3
después doña
hijos.
Andrea, que eran 6. Con eso yo jugaba. Porque doña Andrea era brava, doña Andrea no me dejaba.
¿No te dejaba ir a
No.
ningún sitio sola?
Yo me le fugaba.
¿O tú te fugabas?
Cut.
Cut. You want to put it... Bueno.
Esa fue como la vida de chiquito, entonces a los 7, 8 años yo no me recuerdo porque me mandaron para Piedra con mi madrina de agua. Pero la
Ajá.
señora se portó mal conmigo, porque ni en la escuela me puso.
No te puso en la escuela. Te usó como... pues, como sirvienta.
Casi, porque
Ujú.
¿ves?
¿Qué era lo que tenías que hacer?
Pues ella, bueno, en Puerto Rico le decían pupil y huéspedes. Faltaba los cuartos cuando era clase, había clase. Y entonces pues yo recogía cama
Ujú.
y todo eso.
¿Y no te daban dinero por eso?
Nada,
No eras muy pequeña
no
entonces.
me daban nada. Era para criarme ahí.
¿Y
Entonces cuando no me necesitaron me mandaron para calle otra vez. Y yo traté de ir en calle a la escuela,
Ajá.
pero no hubo una persona que me ayudara.
¿Se lo pediste a tía Andrea de ir a la escuela?
Bueno, eso no era cosa para pedir, creo yo. Porque yo estuve en Río Piedra como algunos 2 años. Esa no era una cosa para yo pedirla, esa era cosa para que me mandaran.
Ajá.
Pues no me pusieron, no me pusieron. En sorry, porque en la familia soy la única que no sé nada.
Pero sabes bastantes cosas. ¿Qué pasó después? Cuando estabas en Río Piedras, ¿no saliste nunca a ningunos sitios?
No,
Además de ir a Calle, ¿no fuiste a ningún otro sitio?
no. No veía,
¿Y a
no lo
Viejo San Juan y esos sitios nunca fuiste?
vi. Iba al supermercado.
Ajá. A buscar cosas para la señora.
A buscar, a veces, creo que me acuerdo que alguna vez me mandaron a un sitio.
Ujú.
¿Eh?
Ajá.
En todo ese tiempo, ¿tú llegaste a ver tu papá otra vez?
Mi papá, cuando yo vine a saberlo, ya hace tiempo que había muerto. Porque cuando una señora vino a casa donde yo estaba, le dijeron, esa nena sabe que su papá se murió. Y ahí fue que yo supe.
Ni siquiera te lo dijeron
No.
cuando pasó. Ujú. Ahora,
¿Pero qué recuerdos tú tienes de tu papá? Porque tú lo llegaste a ver.
Sí, yo de mi papá me recuerdo que él andaba en un caballo.
Ujú.
Y un día pasó y me trepó en el caballo. Me llevó. Y a mi abuelita le estuvo mal.
ujú.
Pero no me acuerdo mucho de él. Yo sé que después se enfermó y Marta lo tenía en su casa.
Ajá. ¿Y
Porque
se enfermó de qué? ¿No sabes?
ahí le dieron una paliza. Bueno, le dieron.
Ujú, ujú.
Got a good beating.
¿Y de qué?
Él era el macho del pueblo,
Oh,
según decían.
ajá.
Y uno que estaba, dicen que el más bobo le dio duro. Ay, no sé, no me gusta.
Ok.
Okay.
Te cuento todo el servicio.
Rick.
Espera un momento.
16 años me mandaron para Nueva York.
¿Quién te mandó a Nueva York?
Marta y Andrea.
¿Con su dinero?
¿Con cuál va a ser?
Y cuando llegaste a Nueva York, ¿dónde te quedaste?
En casa de los parientes de mi tía,
¿De cuál tía?
de las dos.
¿Parientes de ellas?
Sí.
¿No te acuerdas quiénes eran?
Ay, no
Ok, y ya, ¿cuántos años tenías cuando?
puedo. 16.
16.
Entonces a los 17 conocí al papá de me
Rosemary.
sacó de allá.
Ok, conociste a
Rubén.
señor Rubén.
Ahí lo
¿Y qué hacía Rubén?
trabajaba en restaurante,
¿Trabajaba dónde?
en un restaurante.
Un
En un restaurante.
En un restaurante. Ok, sorry. ¿Y tú qué hacías? A los 16 años no podías hacer nada, ¿verdad?
Nada. No, por eso que me pusieron la edad de angelita en donde trabajé tiempo.
¿En dónde?
Trabajé en un tiempo en downtown.
Downtown.
Yeah.
¿Y cómo llegabas downtown?
Por 5 centavos con eso, güey.
Por 5 centavos cogías el subway y llegaba hasta lo más abajo de downtown.
Porque era me acuerdo hasta del nombre, por Waverly Place.
Waverly Place. Ajá. ¿Y qué hacías ahí?
Trabajaba en chocolate,
Oh, y qué bueno.
packing chocolate.
¿Y comías chocolate, mucho chocolate? ¿Se lo llevabas a tus tías de regalo, ¿no?
A mi tía.
Ajá.
Yo no vivía entonces con mi tía.
¿Pero las veías a menudo o no?
No, las vine a ver. Las vine a ver bien después que ellas vinieron a este país. Y Andrea vino a casa.
Oh, ya veo. O sea que estabas con familias de ellas al principio, pero ellas no se habían venido.
No, yo las dejé.
¿Y qué año fue eso que viniste?
Yo vine en el 37, yo creo que fue.
37. Entonces hubo pocos trabajos, ¿no?
Ujú.
Pero la gente encontraba dónde trabajar y cómo...
Encontraba siempre. Porque
Sí,
yo era jovencita, encontré trabajo en dos o tres partes.
sí. Además de Waverly Place, ¿trabajaste en otros sitios?
Sí. Pero no me acuerdo de los otros sitios. Yo creo que no existen.
Ajá. Pero en Waverly Place, por ejemplo, no tenías que hablar inglés. ¿Qué te hacían hacer?
Bueno, en Waverly Place fue la que aprendía a hablar español.
Ah, qué bueno. ¿Y qué hacías ahí? ¿Meter los chocolates o
Empacar.
empacarlos? Ok. ¿Y cómo era eso antes? ¿La gente tenía dinero para comprar chocolates? ¿O eran gente rica?
Yo no sé si tenían, uno tenía. Se empacaba.
Ok. ¿Y cómo era el tren cuando ibas ahí? ¿Iba llenito?
No, siempre.
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 Siempre había mucha gente.
Siempre había. Hoy hay demás, pero en aquel tiempo había mucho. Había que empujar también.
También. ¿Y eran hispanos o de
Ligados.
todas?
Ligado. De todo.
¿Qué quiere decir ligado?
¿Ah?
¿Qué quiere decir ligado?
Ligado, de toda clase.
O de toda clase. Ok. ¿Y el sitio donde vivías? ¿Cómo era? ¿En apartamento? ¿En casa?
Departamento.
¿Era buen apartamento?
No. Regular.
Regular.
Se podía vivir, pero no era.
¿Te acuerdas qué calle o la dirección o no?
No, yo viví en muchos sitios.
Ajá.
No me recuerdo más o menos de todo, porque cuando yo vine fui a vivir a las 110.
A las 110 en donde, en Manhattan.
Y para allá para el barrio.
110 del Bronx.
No, 110, eso era allá abajo. Bueno,
Manhattan.
es el
Manhattan. La parte norte de Manhattan. Ajá.
para allá, por donde cerquita.
¿Y los apartamentos eran regulares? ¿Tenías tú todo un cuarto para ti o eran pequeñitos y todo era en el mismo sitio?
No, eran. Al principio tenía que tener un cuartito con dormía. Eso era al principio,
Ajá,
como otra. Pero
ajá.
ni me acuerdo de ella ni de.
O sea, compartías con otra muchacha. ¿Y ella dónde trabajaba?
Ay, yo no me acuerdo.
¿Te acuerdas?
No. Después nos separamos y
Ajá,
hasta que me encontré el señor.
ajá. Después de las 110, ¿dónde fuiste?
Y yo me salí ahí.
¿No te acuerdas?
Ni me acuerdo. Yo viví en tantos sitios. Que no me
¿Cuál es
acuerdo.
el próximo sitio que recuerdas?
Los últimos. El bebé y
Ah.
hubo otro.
¿Cuándo?
Ya yo tenía Rosemary,
Eso es...
ya eran grandes.
Ok. ¿Y dónde era eso?
Evergreen, en el Bronx.
Evergreen en el Bronx. ¿Y en qué año nació Rosemary?
En el 38.
En el 38. ¿Ya vivías en ¿cómo se llamaba eso?
No, ella nació cuando yo vivía en Cypress Avenue,
Cypress Avenue,
en el Bronx.
en el Bronx. En el 38. Ok. Entonces, luego nació el pequeño.
Jimmy nació en el 40.
En el 40 nació y él en el mismo Cypress o en otro sitio.
Yo vivía por Manhattan, vivía en la 145.
145. También en apartamento.
Altamente.
¿En qué piso?
Creo que el segundo.
¿Y era grande o pequeño?
Bastante grande.
¿Cuántos cuartos habían?
3.
Ajá.
Mikey vivía con nosotros.
Mikey era el hermano de Rubén. Okay. ¿Y Rubén seguía trabajando en el restaurante?
Siempre trabajaba.
Siempre trabajaba en el restaurante. ¿Y sabes en qué restaurante trabajaba?
Ay, no, porque yo nunca iba por el restaurante.
¿Era en Manhattan o era en el Bronx?
No me acuerdo. Del único restaurante que me acuerdo es cuando era de él. Era por Manhattan, por allá.
Ajá.
Que Romerí me llevó a... Fíjate que Romerí me llevó a estar.
Ajá.
Que llamamos a Susan, chiquita, para que él la
Oh,
viera.
sí. That was in the Bronx, on Sedgwick Avenue. The one Jeanette.
¿Ok?
Okay.
Eso es lo que te he dicho, ahí está como de allá para acá.
¿Qué quería preguntar? ¿Qué cosas te gustaba de vivir en Nueva York y qué cosas no te gustaban? ¿Te encontrabas mejor en Nueva York que en Puerto Rico?
Bueno, en Puerto Rico, yo llegué el otro día, me hubiese oído para Puerto Rico. Con el tiempo me cogí.
Ajá. Y
después tuve esos 2 muchachitos que era mi vida.
ajá. Pero tuviste los niños, pero también trabajabas, ¿no?
Trabajé ya, yo estaba grandecito cuando yo fui a trabajar. Yo iba a buscar trabajo y lo hacía en la casa.
¿Qué clase de trabajo hacías en la casa?
Trabajaba que se hicieran a mano.
Haciendo cosas a mano. Ok. Pero hubo un tiempo en que trabajabas en una factoría o en algún sitio.
Sí, eso fue hace un año.
Ajá.
Trabajé 23 años en esa factoría.
23 años, ¿en qué factoría fue esa?
¿Desde qué factoría yo trabajaba?
Charco.
En Charco, en Mount Bendo.
¿Cómo se deletrea eso?
S-H-A-C-O. Así es, nena.
Charco.
Charco.
¿Y qué cosas hacía Charco?
Cosas de baby.
Cosas.
Cosía allí. Yo cosí en una máquina ahí.
Ok.
Hace tiempo eran high chairs, the cushions, the plastic cushions for high chairs. Y matres.
Ujú,
That's
Matres para los baby.
ujú.
Y ahí trabajé 23 años. Sí. Ese fue lo.
¿Eso fue qué?
Long time.
Long time. ¿Y daban buen salario? ¿Beneficios?
No, que va.
Nada.
Nada.
Poca cosa. ¿Daba para qué? ¿La comida o no?
Bueno, cuando yo me quedé sola con los muchachos, no me daba mucho. Nada. Porque tuve un tío de ella que me ayudó mucho.
Mikey.
Mikey.
¿Y qué hacía
¿Aprendiste a
Mike?
guiar?
¿Ah?
Entonces aprendiste a guiar.
Y Mikey me enseñó a guiar, compré carros. Tuve como 9 carros nuevos.
9.
Como 9, 8, por ahí.
En tu vida 9 carros.
Sí, porque yo lo cambiaba cada 2 años.
¿Y para qué necesitabas el carro? ¿Para llegar al trabajo?
Allí. Porque yo iba al trabajo y llevaba gente.
Llevabas
Para ganar
para ganar dinero y hacías como un carpool.
Ajá.
Sí.
Ok.
Me pagaban y yo lo seguía guardando. Y a los 2 años cambiaba el carro. Porque en aquel tiempo los carros eran muy baratos. Te valían 2,000 y pico, 2,000 y pico.
Sí, pero para ganar 2,000 y pico costaba mucho tiempo.
Bueno, guardaba un poquito. Lo que sí que lo cambia, ¿verdad, nena? Que yo tuve muchos carros.
12.
Porque yo no, te ves que no fui mucho a la escuela, pero fui agresiva. Yo, si tú, aquel lo hago yo.
Ajá, ahora estoy entendiendo la cosa. Ok.
Entonces Naki me dijo, yo te enseño por un mes. Si al mes no aprendes.
¿Y qué hacía Mikey?
Naki trabajaba
¿Trabajaba de qué?
en una factoría de cartón. Cartones. Y de, ¿no?
¿Y
Primero
cuándo conociste a Don Luis?
A don Luis lo conocí hace como pero él tiene 43 años, pues. Como 44 años conocí yo.
¿En qué año fue eso? Hace 44.
Eso es lo que yo pienso. No sé si fue más o menos.
En los 60, por ahí. ¿Y cómo lo conociste?
Ella conocía a Luis antes de eso. Porque me casé en 56, 55, 1955.
Ok.
Pero él trabajaba ahí también. Se conocían antes del trabajo. Pero empezaron a verse un poco más en 57, entonces más serio en 58.
Eso fue cuando tu prima Nelsie también volvió de Alemania, más o menos en esa época, y fue a caer
Él
a...
sí conoció a Luis.
¿Sí lo conoció?
Él sí conoció a Luis.
¿Cuándo? Cuando llegó aquí de Alemania.
Que vino con los muchachos.
Ajá, ¿y dónde se conocieron? ¿En tu casa?
Ay, nena, yo sé que se conocieron.
Cuando ustedes vinieron, que pararon en el aeropuerto, nosotros todos fuimos para verlo.
¿Sí?
Ajá.
Sí, al stop.
Porque Luis no se perdía. Una cajera siempre andaba atrás de nosotros.
Luis te perseguía.
Eso tengo que decir. No tengo que decir nada de él. Me quiso mis hijos mucho.
No decir nada malo.
Y de los nietos de esa de Susan.
Ajá.
Esa era su vida. Y los muchachitos. Y su maestra, olvídela.
The teacher. Esa es Sesi.
Porque él le decía siempre a mí, le decía a mi tía. Y con Fredito. Y con el otro, con todos.
Okay.
Bueno, ya te di una historia completa.
Déjame ver si está completa.
Casi
Déjame ver.
completa.
A ver si está completa.
Casi completa. Porque hay que almorzar.
Ok, seguiremos entonces más tarde. All right. Are we
Okay.
ready? And could you tell us your full name when you were born?
Rosemary Ramos was born 7/26/1938.
Great. And
Born in the Bronx,
in the Bronx, New York.
New York.
At the time, do you remember where you lived?
Haven't got a clue.
All right. 1938 in the Bronx. And your mother was?
Maria Isabel Ramos, or her given name is Martinez.
Okay. And your father was?
Ruben Ramos.
And at the time, if you were told so, what did your father do and what did your mother do?
My father at the time, he worked in some kind of restaurants, which is what he's did all his life. And my mother was staying in a house, and she was just like making beds and like a servant.
Okay. For a family or for an organization?
It was a family.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What do you remember of yourself as a baby? Did your mother say you were a sick baby, happy baby?
Besides being cute and fat,
Uh-huh.
I was basically a happy baby.
Happy,
Yeah.
okay. And you were the first baby,
Right.
correct?
I have a brother that was born July 5th, 1940, 2 years after.
Okay.
He came with the blue eyes and the blonde hair.
And when you were a little baby, do you remember any part of your life until, say, 5 or 6 years of age, or do you remember nothing?
I remember Titi Ines.
Your aunt?
Yes. I used to remember. I don't know where. I think she lived in Jamaica at the time. I remember.
Jamaica, Queens?
Correct.
New York? Okay.
I remember staying with her, and she would curl my hair, make lots of little curls. And she'd take me to the park, and she'd feed me, which was not a problem.
You like that?
Yeah.
And was she alone, or was she with
She
someone?
was with her husband, Manolo.
Hmm.
And
Did they have children?
no, they did not.
So you were kind of a special treat to have.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was her favorite. I know that. Knew that, you know. And like Titi Angie, my brother was her favorite.
Okay, and where was Titi Angie?
Titi Angie at the time, I guess she lived either in Manhattan or in the Bronx. I really don't know. We're going back a lot of years, and I really don't know. As I got older, when we moved to, let's see, I was in grammar school, and we lived on Fox Street, 715, and my Aunt Angie and Albert and her 3 kids, my cousins, lived on 160th in Manhattan.
Okay, and they were your age, more or less, or they were
The
older?
twin boys are 6 months younger than me,
Okay.
and Eunice should be about 4, maybe 5 years younger, something like that. And my aunt and uncle, Titi Ines and Uncle Manolo, at that time moved, in the Bronx on Morris Avenue, 2065. And my Aunt Ines took up beauty culture school and became a beautician. Took her many years. And at that time, I remember that Doña Marta came and stayed with her. And she went to work at some factory. And
Her aunt.
Yeah.
Your great aunt.
Yeah. And Doña Andrea, her aunt, lived on Hunts Point Avenue and also worked. And I believe the 2 sisters, Andrea and Marta, worked together. I believe. That I know for a fact now.
Okay.
And I lived on Fox Street till I was 16. And my mother left my father with good reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And we went and stayed with my Aunt Ines and Uncle Manolo for a very short period, a couple of weeks. And my mother set up an apartment, and we moved in, just my mother, my brother, and I.
How long were you in that apartment?
About a year, and then we moved to another one because that's where they put the Cross Bronx Expressway. So we had to move. So then we moved to...
Did they pay you to leave, or?
Yes,
They did.
they did.
That was
Then we
nice.
moved to Longfellow Avenue. And at that time, my mother was seeing Louis, and I was then 17, 18. That's when they first started dating. And then I got married, and I moved to 179th Street.
How old were you when you were married?
19.
Mm.
Dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway. But the good part of it, I have 3 kids. I have twins, Sesi and Freddie, and my younger one is Robin.
When was Robin born?
Robin was born in 62, and the twins were born in 58. And then when Freddie and Sesi were 5, we moved to Rockland. 1963, we moved to Rockland. And
Well, let's go back. You're going very fast.
okay, where do you want to go back to?
When you were a little girl, you talked about your Aunt Angie and her husband Albert.
Right.
They had 3 children, but they were younger than you, so they were born after you. And you visited Ines in Jamaica, Ines and Manolo.
Mm-hmm.
Were there any relatives on your father's side? Because this is all on your mother's side. Were there any relatives on your father's side that you
The only one
Never
that
saw.
we really saw a lot of is my Uncle Mike, my father's brother. You know, my father has, at that time he had 3 other brothers. There are a total of 5 brothers. But my father didn't socialize with his family, didn't bother. I did have a grandmother on my father's side that lived in Long Avenue, I think it was called. It was right over the Progresso Bar, and I remember being taken there for her to take care of me.
because
I don't know, you know, for the day, or maybe because she wanted to have me. I don't know. I didn't like it.
can I imagine?
No, I didn't. First of all, she was from the old country, so there was a bedpan underneath the bed, which I refused to use. So she found me to be very stubborn, and she let me know that. And although I didn't see her that much, because like I said, my father really didn't bother with his family.
Mm-hmm.
My mother did.
Mm-hmm.
My mother, she wasn't in one sister's house, she was at the other, or Doña Andrea. You know, it was a close family. It's a close family on my mother's side.
Right.
It was not a close family on my father's side. But my Uncle Mike always came to see us or bring us things, especially during the Depression. He would bring us milk and bread.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he was the only one that really bothered with my brother, that took him to a baseball game and bought him a glove and actually went and see him play.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, things my father never did.
Mm-hmm.
And to this day, he's always been very supportive of us.
Mm-hmm. So there is at least one part of his family that's still
Yes.
with you. Okay. All right. Your mother left Ruben
Mm-hmm.
in '54, and you moved to, where was it again?
And Longfellow.
Longfellow. And what was that like? Was it a nice apartment?
It was a nice apartment.
Did you and your brother have separate rooms, or?
No, I was with my mother, and my brother had his own room.
Okay, so there was like 2 bedrooms.
Mm-hmm.
And you went to school where?
I went to, when I was in Box Street as my elementary, I went to PS 62, which is in the Bronx, at 156th. And then I went to PS 60, which is near Simpson and Prospect, something like that. But my father checked the neighborhood and didn't like it. So he had me go to Elizabeth Barrett Browning. So I had to take 3 buses to go to school. And the reason I was able to go to Elizabeth Barrett Browning was because he used my Aunt Ines and Manolo's address.
Which was in Jamaica, Queens.
No, this is when they were moved to Morris. They're in the Bronx. Morris Avenue, I think it was. 2065 Morris.
What kind of a school was the Elizabeth Browning School?
It was all girls.
Oh, I
All
see.
girls.
Okay, and that's why he favored that.
Right.
Mhm.
And then I went to high school. I went to Grace Dodge, which was on Southern Boulevard and 181st or 2nd, something like that. Actually, just across the Bronx Zoo.
Mhm. And how was that? Did you like going
I enjoyed it. It was good. I mean, I made good friends. I made my best friend at that time, who ended up being my maid of honor when I first got married, in Elizabeth Barrett Browning, was Nita.
Okay.
And when I went to Grace Dodge, it was okay. I mean, I'm not going to tell you I made lasting friendship. They're all nice.
Mhm.
And it's hard when you can't bring friends home.
Yeah.
So it's, it stops there.
I
Since
see.
my father didn't believe in that, nor did as a younger. I mean, I don't know how to jump rope. I don't know how to ride a bike. I never did it as a kid.
Mhm.
Like my first attempt to ride a bike, I was 21 or 22, and I broke that toe. And I know it till this day that I broke that toe. And, which was not, I don't believe my father did right by that, because my brother could go out. He was always out on the street. But little girls don't do that.
Mhm. So.
So, I mean, I lived when I went to school, came home, went to school, came home. And that was it. No friends.
But did you go out in groups anytime?
Strictly family things.
Family things.
Yeah, my mother took me to one of my my aunts, or occasionally we would go to a movie with my mom.
Okay.
But I was not allowed to do anything other than that.
So, when you met your husband to be, how old were you?
I was 18,
Okay.
but my mother and father had already broken up when I was 16.
Mhm.
And I guess I put my mother through hell because I loved to dance. And I wouldn't miss Friday night and Saturday night. And I think I was giving her a heart failure. But it was all innocent.
But you went out with him?
No, I went out with, that's how I met him. But I
Uh-huh.
went out with Nita, because I still kept that relationship. And she understood where my father was at, so she never took offense to it.
Mhm.
So we always talked on the phone, or while we were in school, it was not a problem. But once, I went into high school, my father was still around,
Mhm.
and he didn't permit it.
Okay, and so where did you go dancing?
Went to the Corsos, the Palladium, Broadway.
Whoa. Corsos. Where was the Corsos?
Corsos, I think, is 183. 183.
Okay, that's Manhattan.
Right.
And the other one was?
The Palladium?
That's 125th, right? No, Palladium.
No, that's...
Oh, that's Village, that 14th Street.
No, it's not 14th Street. It's in the 50s. Did it move? We used to be right next to...
Yes, you're right. It later moved to 14th Street.
Right. Yeah, that's before me.
Mm-hmm.
Manhattan Center, the Hunts Point Palace. I mean, wherever. The Cabrojeno. That was on Broadway in 160, I think it's the 60s. I don't remember. I really don't remember the physical addresses.
What was different about these places, like Corsos, Palladium, Manhattan Club, Cabrojeno?
Okay.
What made them as the popular things that they were?
Well, the Palladium attracted bigger bands,
Mm-hmm.
and they had shows, which were dance exhibitions and things like that. So that's always a plus. The Corsos, Cabrojeño was, well, the Corso too brought in a lot of big bands, but the Cabrojeño and the Broadway, they just had a band that was there every week. So if we didn't have anything happening that we wanted to see, you would go to either one. It's like Manhattan Center. That wasn't every week. Every so often they would have, Rodriguez and Puente, or Machito, or Fajardo, So
Mhm.
that's where you go, where the music is.
Did you ever meet these guys?
Oh yeah. I knew, well, Rodriguez, I sat at his table all the time, but he was my favorite. Machito was really down to earth. There's Tico Valdez, which I thought he was excellent, but didn't have the love for it. So he gave it up. I mean, there I went to his home.
Where did he live?
He lives across the street from Doña Andrea on an angle
No,
on the
kidding.
first floor.
Hunts Point.
Yeah. And then Nita, her sister Ryder, started going out with Mikey Collazo, who used to play for Rodriguez, and then since has played for many other groups. He's now with Orquesta Broadway. And she started dating Eddie Palmieri. And when I was fortunate enough, when I was 17, 18, that's when I gave my mother hell.
Mm-hmm.
The group that started out together was Eddie Palmieri, Orlando Marin, and, he passed away, but these were guys that at one time played in a group, and then they went on. Joe Quijano got his own band, and so did Orlando Marin. And Eddie, needless to say, Eddie is above them all.
Mm-hmm.
He mixed it also with jazz and was
Mhm.
able to cross either way.
Mm-hmm. Which is good.
Yeah.
Okay. And that continued forever, or when did it?
Just about continued as much until I had my twins, and I couldn't really get a sitter to go, but whenever possible. At that time, then I was going to the Taft Hotel, which was in the Bronx off of Grand Concourse,
Mhm.
and
What was there? Same thing?
same thing. And
But it was a hotel?
it's a hotel. It was at bottom, the Grand Concourse.
Okay.
And then, we still would go, sometimes we would go to the Corsos or the Broadway, depending upon who was playing where. And they've come and gone so many places in the Bronx and Manhattan that, today they were popular, yesterday they were popular, today they don't exist.
Right.
So wherever we heard there was good music.
Mhm.
Actually, I followed the band, not the place.
Okay. So that's how you ended up in different places. you
Right,
said.
following the band.
Okay. Then we talked about your moving to Rockland.
Right, that was in 63,
Uh-huh.
and my
And
children.
You already had 3 children.
Mm-hmm.
You're a very young mother.
Right.
What did you do for a living?
Well, the first 2 years that I was there, I actually took care of the kids, the mothers that went to work. And then when it was obvious that my then husband and I were going to end, I figured I better get a real job.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to work for Halcoat. And I worked for Halcoat for...
What year was that?
Let's see, if I moved there, 63, 67, could be 66, 67. And I worked for Bill 19 years.
Very good.
It was a one-girl office.
And what did you do for them?
I did all correspondence, all billing, accounts payable, accounts receivable, one girl office,
Mm-hmm.
jack of all trades. And let's see, I married Joe.
That was, what year was that? That was much later.
Yes. Well, we're married now 17 years. Doesn't seem like that.
Yeah.
17 years.
80, what year was that, 80?
84.
Yeah.
And so my family grew bigger now. I have my 3 kids, and Joe has his 3 kids, so together we have 6 kids.
Okay, did you go back to Puerto Rico at any time during this?
Well, Joe and I, for the past 10 to 12 years, I guess it is, we go every year in January. Sometimes for a month, 3 weeks.
But
And we stay at the Condado Plaza.
I'm talking about a time when you went, when I think you saw your
I went,
grandfather.
oh yeah, that's many years ago. That's when I was a little girl. My mother took us to Puerto Rico to visit the family.
How old were you?
Oh, I had to be 9, 10. I don't remember. But a little girl, because I remember myself.
It would have been just after the war.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And we went and we stayed with Doña Marta. And
In Calle, your
Calle.
aunt. Your aunt, okay.
And I remember my mother one time hired a car so that we could go meet my grandfather on my father's side.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we got the car, when we got to the place, the driver says that's as far as the road goes. The rest we had to do it by foot. And we started walking up, and then my grandfather came in a wagon, not a car wagon.
Horse-drawn.
Yeah, horse-drawn wagon. And we got on that, and as we passed little shacks, you saw little children in front of the shack, and then we went to the main house, which was a little better shack, but he had a barn. And I'll never forget, as a treat, he took out a goat and he milked it. And I wouldn't drink it. I had a crying fit. He meant to do, something so nice, and I wasn't very cooperative.
I see.
Which was the only time I saw him.
Mm-hmm.
First and last.
What did Jimmy do?
He wouldn't. If I didn't drink it, forget my brother. My brother
Mhm.
wouldn't eat or drink anything. But he got more involved with the animals that were there,
Mhm.
and it was pleasant enough. It wasn't a long visit because it took us longer to get there and get back than the
Mhm.
visit.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the only time I saw him. And then when, in what year, I took my kids and I stayed with Titi Ines for the whole summer, which you picked us up.
1975?
Yeah, something like that, I don't remember. Now, when I stayed in Calle with Titi Ines for a month. No, for 2 months. I stayed the whole summer. I left right after school ended here, and I stayed till September.
That must have been a wonderful time.
It was. It was.
What was it like in Calle at that time?
It was quiet, and everybody was friendly, and I got the people, the vendors that would walk down, pan caliente,
They were run up and down the
up
streets.
and down the streets. And in the afternoon, you can buy plátanos amarillos, y plátanos, y yautía, and whatever. They would all come up and down the street, and my aunt would buy her little goodies. And she spoiled me to death.
Mhm.
She made me pastelillos at least once a week, rellenos de amarillo at least once a week,
Mhm.
and arroz con pollo. The rest were ordinary. Oh,
And you-
roast pork.
Right, and your aunt did what for a living there in her house?
Well, she had cut it down, but she was a beautician. She used to have a little shop in the back, and occasionally did some
Right.
people.
In other words, she had bought this house that she was
She
in.
bought this house. She bought it right next to her aunt, Doña Andrea.
Uh-huh.
And it was a beautiful piece of property. And they raised their plátanos in the backyard and quenepas and whatever other things. Different herbs. But I don't know what they were. I know they had ajicitos. That's what I remember. Because you could smell them.
Okay. We're almost done anyway, so it's a good time to cut. Thank
Okay.
you very much.
You're welcome. Okay.